Hello and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles in partnership with Movie Maker magazine. I'm Marissa Herrera and I am here with filmmaker JLee MacKenzie with his film, The Greatest Night. Let's take a look at a clip. JLee, thank you so much for joining me today and being part of this conversation. And congratulations on this beautiful film. I was so touched and I'm really excited to be here with you today.
Me too.
Can you give us a synopsis for our audience members that haven't had a chance to view it yet?
I can try to. Yeah, The Greatest Night is a mixed media. It's a hybrid short doc, really narrative nonfiction film that tells a personal story. It tells my personal story of journey from prison movie projectionist to filmmaker. And in telling that story, it really explores it talks about some of the relationships along the way and how some of those relationships reemerged at really important moments.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. And one of the things that I found so interesting is, like you said, there were so many, we get to actually see a film sped up within this film, and that there are so many stories and layers to it. And you also picked various mediums to be able to tell this story. You had animation, shadow puppetry, things that move back and forth in time. Why did you pick those mediums for this film?
Well, when it came to this film, when I had the opportunity to make this film, it was a collaboration with a composer named Matthew Evan Taylor and with the Vermont Symphony Orchestra. So it was, I had this, an opportunity that seemed that I couldn't pass up and that I really needed to make a film for. If I made a film, I feel like I'm stumbling through this here. If I made basically I had an opportunity where if I made a film, the film would go on tour with the Vermont Symphony Orchestra and they would perform the score live for their audiences. But when the opportunity came up, I had just started my program at USC and was in the first year is very vigorous. You have to make collaboratively make like 7 films over the course of the first year. So by the time I finished, I had about 30 days left to deliver a film to the composer and to the orchestra. And I was like, well, I have to make a film in 30 days. Luckily, I had been really primed for that from that first year at USC, from having to move really quickly and just make a series of shorts. So I just got together spoke with my previous collaborators, previous producers who I'd worked with, and decided that I would pull pieces of the previous film. I would use the previous film to really contextualize the story that I was trying to tell, because the story that I was telling in this film was the result of the previous film. It was what happened after, and some unexpected results. So I just pulled media from the other film and pulled media that I tend to, through life, pull my phone out of my pocket and just shoot stuff. When I find it, when there's moments that seem important, I just shoot them and see, if they're going to come up later. So it ended up being a series of media from the previous film, media from my phone, documentary footage, and then to become for the backbone of the story itself. Like in 30 days time, I couldn't try and stage a big production, but I could stage a small focused one. So that's where like the shadow puppet animations came in, and we just cut an army of shadow puppets and made that the through line to tie the story together.
Wow. And you had shared, and we see, you know, in the film, that you were incarcerated, and that really the beginning of your career as a filmmaker started with you running and being in charge of this makeshift screening room for the other inmates. And there is a character who is who is a real life person that we're introduced to in the film, that you share, he protected you when you were incarcerated, and you have this, I would even go to say, this destined moment that we discover in the film. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so in the film talks about a character named Perry. So when I was first locked up, I was a teenager. I was very young, and there was, you know, a number of older guys who would look out for me, and you know, they just teach me things about the inside, and make sure that I had the things I needed, and it just kind of you know, I wouldn't say that they became father figures, but became the male figures who would kind of look out for me, because I was just very young and didn't know anything about that environment. And through my time on the inside, I went through a series of events with those people who, I mean, from being a young person in prison to being shipped 1,000 miles away to a corporate facility in Kentucky, to a for-profit prison, to us having a riot there that burned the facility, and being in a riot with those same guys, and then some years later, ending up having a job as a prison movie projectionist, where I would project movies in, you know, this room that was converted into a theater, and you know, we'd watch movies in there. And there's, you know, a series of little snippets. There's only so much that I could tell in the condensed story of the film, but I tried to put in these little snippets from over time, to kind of just characterize some of the moments. But Perry is a character who kind of tracks through the story, and from the beginning of me going in there until after I come out, until a key moment after I finally came out and went to college, went to undergrad, and got in my final year, ended up having an important collaboration, made a film, got funding for a film, made it, and then that film got me into the grad schools that I wanted. And at one of my highest moments, you know, I run into that other that other character from my life, Perry, who was at his lowest moment, or I should say, I don't want to speak for his life or his moments, but at one of his lower moments in life. So it was kind of like the universe holding up a mirror in front of me and showing me, you know, reminding me to have humility, and reminding me of where I came from.
So with that, with, you know, the title, The Greatest Night, how did that become the title of this film? Interview.
Can we swear in these interviews? I don't know.
We can edit it out if we need to. We have had interviews where, you know, it's conversation.
Yeah. The previous title was based on real fucking life. And I don't know if you have to throw a beep on that, because it was just the situation as it played out, the sequence of events that happened to lead me to where I am, and to lead me even to that one moment in the story where I'm running into Perry on a snowy night when I'm out celebrating the greatest night of my life so far. And this person who had been at the very beginning of my story is like practically dying on the street. It just, I guess at the time that I was starting to tell this story, it just seemed, I deeply appreciated the irony of it and the message that it sent me. It was also like, I really just kind of understood. It was like, this is ridiculous. This is a ridiculous sequence of events.
Yeah, like how everything had to line. If you took a different route home, or the timing would have been off. Like everything had to work in a way to like lead you to this moment.
Yeah, totally. So the original title was based on real effing life. I'll edit myself on that one. And I was just like, I can't send a film to an orchestra and call it that. I can't have an orchestra go on tour with this film and have them announce that to their audiences. Like, so I wanted to be thoughtful of that and be mindful of, the audiences. And while I believed in that first title, I got on the phone with another friend of mine who's a filmmaker from USC, and we talked about it. And he was like, "Why don't you call it The Greatest Night?" And I was like, "That's a great idea." So, sorry, that's a little side story on where the title came from.
No, it's great. And I like to ask that question because, when we start out with projects, a lot of the times, we have one vision for it. And then it's always neat to hear, how the path things take for it to be, the final product, including, a title. So as a filmmaker, your life and career has taken off in a relatively short period, of time. So do you believe that your stories and your films come from a place in spite of what your experiences were when you were younger and, being incarcerated, or because of it?
Both. If I hadn't gone away, I can't say exactly what direction my life would have gone. I know that my life was not going in a good direction from a very young age. Just the circumstances that I was in, the world that I was surrounded by, it just wasn't going to happen. It was just there wasn't a good path forward, and that played itself out in my life. To lead me where I went. So to say where I might have been had I not gone there, or where I might have ended up, that result proved itself. But to end up getting sent away, I'm not going to claim that it was some great thing that changed my life, that put me on the path that I am, because it sucked, and I'm still shedding some of the results of that, but it did lead me to a lot of extreme life experiences that I think made me a better storyteller, and that made me more prepared for the journey that I'm on now. And if I didn't land in that job as a prison movie projectionist, I don't think I would have become a filmmaker. It wasn't my dream. So it certainly contributed in a major way to the trajectory of where I am. And once I got on that path, it has so far proved fruitful.
Thank you for sharing that. So on this path as a filmmaker, what are you working on now, and what can we look forward to next?
Let's see now. Well, just before the pandemic hit, I directed one of my next films, a short film called Hurricane, 20-minute narrative fiction about a young girl who's in a really tough life situation and just really wants to build a soapbox car. So it's a fun story. And luckily we finished production on that directly before the pandemic shut everything down. So we were able to complete that film in complete post. And during the pandemic, I'll always still focus on live action filmmaking, but during the pandemic, I pivoted to animation because I just didn't want the pandemic to be able to stop me from continuing to make things, to continue to move forward. And that proved to be kind of a catalyst, really propelled into animation. And somehow I thought that last film was going to be my last one for the year, and I've made 3 more since then. So there's a number of animations coming.
Fantastic. Well, we look forward to all these incredible projects that you have slated. Congratulations on The Greatest Night. For our audience, please make sure to check this film out. And just for sharing your authentic story. I feel like as filmmakers, one of the greatest gifts that we receive is that as we go through the first part of our life, there's somebody else that has written the first part of our stories. And as filmmakers, we get to write the next chapters. So thank you so much for sharing yours. So for all of our audience, thank you for being with us here today. And on behalf of New Filmmakers LA and Movie Maker Magic, we will see you again soon. Thank you so much, JLee.
Thank you, and well said.